making a video to the whatever burning bush guy, self-inmendham here. Really dumb video. So I haven't played it all yet, so I'm sure it gets dumber. Anyway, so he's arguing that logic has to come in this form. Like one of the rules of logic apparently is that you can only have two propositions and then you have to have a conclusion. There's no such rule. You can have 15 propositions. Logic is a way of conducting a trial. You can conduct a trial and deliberate based on your bigotries, or you can deliberate based on logic and evidence. And logic is just a way of interpreting evidence that obliges it to obey these little few rules, you know, especially the non-contradiction or hypocrisy part. And you can't just, the premise has to be already pre-tested logically. And one of the rules of testing is that is there an alternative theory that explains it better? And then you're stuck, right? If there's if there's an alternative theory that's just as good, well then you're going to have to say we can't know, or you don't know, or whatever. You're going to make a conditional statement. You can't make an absolute statement anymore. But if there is no alternative way to manipulate the evidence to make it seem like it's possible there could be some other answer, you know, I could say a fish is slimy. And there's no way to get around it, you know, rationally, unless you start doing things like saying, well, by fish, do you mean a cooked fish? No, I mean a fish swimming. So again, you'd have to qualify it, but I'm just saying for the sake of argument, the general impression is, yes, it's slimy was a word probably, you know, invented to describe what a fish is. Anyway, so you really can't go wrong. It's pretty close to a logical certainty, like the water is wet thing. You know, wet was probably a word just invented to describe this water thing. Anyway, alright, so it's not logical argument to tell a story I arrived on Earth. I'm not telling a story, but anyway. So I'm not surprised you think nobody has pointed out the error in your logic. And again, I'm pointing out the premises. Right? So you just can't follow along at all, can you? I made it clear. These are the premises for everything I believe in is based on these conclusions that are these premises. These are pre-tested statements. And he's saying my logic is circular. I'm saying there's nothing circular in this logic. These are the premises. Point out the premise that is flawed. And then we can have an argument about that premise. So again, I've deliberately evaded the conclusion and just gone with the premises. Now you could take the idea of me saying I've concluded that other people are having sensations just as real as mine, and you could say that's a conclusion, but it's a premise. It is a conclusion, but it's based on different logic to get to it. But it's, for my sake, it's a premise for the argument I'm heading for the entire philosophy that's built upon these premises. So again, I'm just going to argue these are the propositions. Okay, they're not the conclusion. So the fact that you haven't figured out that I'm establishing, by saying I arrived on Earth, I'm establishing that I didn't get information somewhere else. I don't have knowledge from some other place. I have knowledge from the experience of being alive on Earth. I don't have knowledge from some other place. That's the point of me saying it that way. It's just to conditionalize my interpretation of the sensations I experienced. I had no previous knowledge of them. I didn't come pre-installed with knowledge of this thing that I was to experience. And now I'm defining or describing what the experience is. So you can't, you know, you're just an asshole. A fucking cunt. A skanky, fucking, weaselly, asshole, motherfucking bastard. Anyway. I have a suggestion for inmendham. Suggestions. I suggest you wipe your brain because it's leaking shit. I suggest you Right, Mendham is illogical on the busiest highway you can find. Yeah, and don't look both ways. Yeah, I suggest you get what you deserve. Yeah, that would be super. So anyway, oh, he does play a couple of my little clips in here, so I guess we have to play along.
I said, okay, look, I'm doing this logic thing.
Okay, a logical argument is not in the form of a story. It's not the story. It's an ordered description of contentions I'm making regarding what it is to be alive. So I announce I arrived on Earth. I announce and I contend that I have sensations and that they come in decidedly good and bad character. That's a statement of fact. You want to disagree? Then disagree. Explain how I'm misinterpreting my feelings. That they're not really, they don't really have any character. Experiences don't have character, as good experiences and bad experiences. But you're not doing that. You're saying somehow that's not a contention. I'm contending that's what they are. And I'm contending that when other people are having them, that's what they are. There are contentions. They're propositions. Fuckhead. So this is what he says. This is logic. So you can't have premise 3, present 4, premise 5, present. You can't have a whole punch of evidence. So I could sit at a trial and I'd have to go with only 2 premises at a time. I couldn't explain that, well, we have the blood evidence on the car, and then we have the blood evidence in the house, and then we have the cut finger, and then we have the playing golf in the backyard while he's late for a plane. You know, I could add up all the fucking evidence, but I wouldn't be allowed to do that because you can only have 2 premises. No, wrong. Please state your argument clearly like that. No, it would be idiotic. It'd be idiotic to parse all of the evidence into 2 statement packets when you can just order it in 4 or 5 statements and saying because of all these conditions, like the I have no logical reason to believe my conscious is exceptional. My consciousness. Is it true or not true? I have no logical reason to think no factual or evidence-based reason to believe my consciousness is exceptional. True or not true? Come here, fuck you. See, maybe another clip's coming, but maybe not. Then we can all examine whether the conclusion logically entails. Then we can all examine whether the conclusion logically entails. That's not a proper sentence at all. Then we can all examine whether the conclusion logically entails. This is entails, right? I'm not saying that wrong, am I? Logically includes? I mean, entails is another word for includes. That doesn't make sense. Sorry. No, I don't get that. Then we can all examine whether the conclusion is logical. You could say that. But again, we're not dealing with a conclusion. These are premises. So you can consider the premises conclusions, and then you can say, okay, well, let's argue that premise. So I'm just saying, these are the premises. If you don't agree with one of the premises, that's when I want you to say, yes, I don't agree with the part where you said, my consciousness is not exceptional. I have no reason to believe my consciousness is exceptional. Different. In any substantive or meaningful way. In any way that should be relevant to a logical device trying to ascertain what it is to be alive. There's no significant difference between my consciousness and them's. Do you believe that or disagree? Day, your friend, the guy who comments on your videos and you comment on his, approving, thinks it's infinitely better for something else to suffer than for him to suffer. Infinitely better. Not a little bit better. Not twice as good. Infinitely better. Again, there's no conclusion yet. There's just premises. And yeah, there's more than one premise. There's the premise that I didn't have prior knowledge. The premise that I experience. My experiences are to me this thing, good and bad. And I conclude my consciousness, my having good and bad experiences is not a unique event in the universe. Those are the premises. I haven't got to the conclusion yet. But obviously the conclusion is going to be, therefore you can't have your brain work just for your body. It has to work for anybody in trouble. Oh, artsy fartsy. No substance though. The irony of your response to Carla's own logic story. Well, again, you see an irony in through what mechanism? She concedes the premise I arrived on Earth. She concedes the premise I have good and bad sensations, I think. And then she goes off to talking about how she's happy to be alive. Grateful. I mean, is that and again, all I asked was, well, is that grateful in the sense that you think it's acceptable and good that you have to torture other organisms to exist, and you find that an acceptable circumstance, and you would torture them again for your existence? You think you're worth it. So as long as we understand that's the context of her comfort. So I'm trying to get to the point of whether her reaction is one of, I just emotionally feel good about me, or whether she actually thought about it. Did she actually think about what it is to endorse existence under the price paid for it? It's kind of like, you know, defending your nation state or something. You have to include all of the vices, all the wars, all the tyrannies, all the abuses.
Where's the logical error? Well, I guess I've sort of...
So again, this is just quote mining, right? He ignores my entire video and just plays, where's the logical error? And if, like I said, if you go back and actually read Carla's statement, you know, which flashes on the screen really quickly, again, it's just a bunch of personal impression crap. There aren't conclusions about life itself. And in none of her statement does she include anything about any harm caused. So do you think that's it's not legitimate to say, where's the logic in providing evidence where you completely ignore all the exonerating evidence? You ignore the fact that the guy was in some other state at the time of the crime. You ignore the fact that he's 3 feet too short, that he has size 8 feet instead of size 14. You just ignore all that? Yeah, that's not logical, right? Right?
Where's the logical error? Well, I guess I've sort of pointed those out. I don't think you applied any logic. I don't...
Right. So the first two claims she made were her premises are agreed. And the rest of her claims were conclusions based on no evidence. She's just saying, I think life is great. I arrived on Earth, I felt sensations, I think life is great. That's not logical. You need more than, I have sensations, to say life is great.
I think you applied any logic.
So this guy's claiming to be an anti-nihilist, and he's defending Carla Della Stella. So again, people who are somehow think this is a sensitive character worth defending Get real.
I don't think you applied any logic. And so I think your entire...
Quote mining again, and then repeating the quotes. I mean, this is just such the tactic of a loser, right? This is somebody who needs to cheat because he doesn't have an argument. Cheater.
Commentary has no relevance to reality.
So again, my commentary, he's saying exactly. So he's saying what I said was commentary. So I'm just doing the best job I can in accurately describing what has happened when I've arrived on Earth, had sensations, realized they come in these two decidedly different manifestations of good and bad, and realized that the other people having these sensations are doing exactly what I'm doing, having good and bad experiences. Those three statements are premises, idiot. Her conclusions were, I love life because of that. That doesn't make any sense. Her premises aren't evidence of why life is good. Her premise was, I arrived on Earth, I had sensations, life is great. That's not logic. You can't tell the difference? You're an idiot. I have a counter theory, let's just put it that way. Her contentions, her premises, are attackable. I'm saying I don't think you can attack my premises as being in any sense illogical or ill-formed. But I'm just saying they're there for you to just disagree with. So if you have a disagreement about one of the premises, please disagree with it. I arrived on Earth. I had sensations. I recognized them as good and bad. And then I recognized that all the other sentient beings are doing the same thing I'm doing, having good and bad sensations. Which one of those is wrong as premises? Which one of those are fallible or weak or subject to, vulnerable to factual attack? Again, so this is what you're an authority on this somehow, and these are the so when they have the rules of logic, if I go look for on Google for the rules of logic, I'll find that one of the rules is you can only have two premises. Yeah, I don't think so. You can only have two pieces of evidence at a time. You can't have an equation that is 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 18. You can't do that. You can only do 3 plus 4, and then you have to do 8 plus 17, and then you have to add those two. No, you don't. I don't know the symbol of fire. What's the fire about, buddy? Yeah, I don't get it.
You must be unaware of how he treats others. You can suck him.
Again, this treating others thing is just so stupid. Because again, just point to the video where I mistreated somebody. Point to one video where you say, I mistreated somebody.
Okay, good. Here we go. Fuck you, criminal. Okay, so we'll go find that. It's axiological true that suffering matters. Okay, I don't know. Well, I might as well play it and we'll see where the attack is. The unprovoked attack. So he's not going to play the attack.
The previous video.
There we go. The previous statement, right? You comment. You don't really make videos. So obviously I meant the previous statement.
That somebody made, or the comment that somebody made.
There, I said that.
Where they were gratuitously insulting.
So you think, whatever, self-immolator, that you didn't say something grotesquely offensive. I mean, insulting, if like I said, I mean, obviously, as my premises indicate, if you insult something just like me, any other victim, I'll defend them. I mean, I don't care whether you're raping me or you're raping them, it's still a rapist. So I think you abused the truth, and I gave you what you deserve as a truth molester.
Their rhetoric was, in fact, something to react to hostilely.
Yeah, like a Nazi. And that's what you are. Yeah.
For making a hostile, assertive, aggressive statement, offending and impugning my character or my intelligence.
Right. Yeah, so you don't think you did that on one of my videos. You don't think you made some comment that either attacked my intelligence or attacked the character of my philosophy. And attacked it with rubbish. Rubbish. Due to this gratuitously insulting and hostile comment from a fellow anti-nihilist. Well, again, I'm not an anti-nihilist, I'm an ethicist. And if anti-nihilist means, well, I think it's really swell if people don't want to have children, that's useless. The point is to have the moral authority, to have the rational strength, the integrity of evidence to tell people they are wrong to have kids, regardless of what they want. You're useless as an anti-natalist if your anti-natalism is, I don't like to rape, and you have no authority to tell other people to stop raping. If you're not going to tell other people to stop raping, you're of no value. So what, you're going to show the comment again that I already did in a video. It's actually true that suffering matters. Bernard goes on and on about this in his book. How he just bringing into line our moral intuitions. How he's just bringing into line our moral intuitions. Well, again, I don't agree with that at all. But it's not logically true that suffering matters or is meaningful. So there we go. It's not logically true. Then it's not true, idiot. It's not logically true. It's not true. Yeah. What does meaning even mean objectively? There you go again. It means significance. It means importance. It means this is priority. Anyone show me one passage where Benatar work supports Gary on this value point? Well, again, his whole diagram with the word good and bad supports me, idiot. You can't beat moral nihilists. See, this is your arrogance. They have logic. Yeah, you don't have it. What's the logic? Where's your logic? It's infinitely better that one of them suffers and not me. That's your logic. It's infinitely better that suffering happens to him and not me. Infinitely better. You have pain, pleasure, intuition, whatever. That's just nonsense. Logic beats intuition when you're the one arguing your position is logical. Logic beats intuition when you're the one arguing your position is logical. Intuition is an idiotic concept, in my opinion. It's the resort of an idiot. An idiot uses intuition. Somebody sensible thinks. They are not overlapping. Oh dear, magistra. Yeah. My evidence is my experience should be a huge warning light. Again, it's the only way to experience feelings is to experience them. The only way to know them is to experience them. The only way to have evidence of feelings is to experience them. You can't acquire evidence of them in any other way but to experience them. Idiot. It's inconvenient, but moral nihilism is correct, says you. Ultimately. That's like saying the bigotry is correct. It's not. Even though we act, think, and feel otherwise logically. Again, this doesn't even make sense. Even though we act, think, and feel otherwise logically. I don't know what that. Even though we act, think, and feel otherwise locally. Oh, sorry, locally. Yeah. So that's just so funny. So he's conceding that his feelings are illogical because nihilism is correct. So the fact that he thinks his feelings, own feelings even matter, he's conceding is wrong. So not only do other people's suffering not matter, his own suffering doesn't matter. And yet he can't help himself because he's somehow emotionally retarded. And so he's denying his nihilism because he can't help but deny it because he's compelled by his feelings to do so. Get real. Yeah, this deserves ridicule. And that's what I did. I ridiculed it. Anyway. Didn't abuse you in any way whatsoever, but merely take your logic to its conclusion, which is, by this nihilist, moral nihilist conclusion is, it's okay to rape if you enjoy raping. It's okay to exterminate Jews if you don't like Jews. I don't know, it keeps showing it like it's... You might disagree with that comment. I might even word it differently if I made it today, but I don't just disagree. I think it's evil. And I respond to it as evil. It's evil. It's wrong in a very nasty way. Yeah, it's nasty wrong. And like an AIDS virus, I'm going to step on it. Because it's shit. Same thing, but
You're an idiot. You're a moron.
there, that's abuse. Ooh. I expressed my opinion, my honest opinion. Ooh, that's abusive.
Stupid fuck. So you're so fucking stupid. You're too stupid, like I said, just too.
Right, more honest expressions of my honest opinion. Ooh, how outrageous. How abusive.
Stupid. You're a fucking idiot. Oh, fuck you.
Gee, what horrible abuse. You're not allowed to say fuck you to somebody. You're not allowed to say you're an idiot when you think they're an idiot. Yeah, I am.
I have a right to defend myself against that kind of trollish, unproven, undocumented, unevidence-provided argument.
And that's a different argument being made, right? I mean, it's other comments where he said I'm illogical or I'm this or I'm that, and so that's a whole different provocation for responses. So he's just combining them like every reaction is based on that single comment, and that's not what every reaction is based on. It's based on a whole bunch of shitty comments. So that controversy covers every comment he disagrees with. So that conveniently covers every comment he disagrees with. No, some of your comments are rude to my personal integrity, and some of them are just rude to the facts. But either way, they make you an asshole. This is just such a shitty style. I hate this fucking bullshit.
And you're a total motherfucking retard. Fuck you entirely.
Right, that's abusive. You can't do that. That's abusive. You're not allowed to give somebody the finger and say fuck you. You're evil. You're an asshole. You're a fucktard. You're a moron. You're a douchebag. You're a useless piece of shit. You're not allowed to do that. Express an honest opinion? I hate your fucking guts. I'm not allowed to say that? I honestly hate your guts. Especially that anus, the big giant fucking neural anus you have for a brain.
Fine, then fuck Benatar and the ass till dead too.
Yeah, right, exactly. If Benatar's going to actually say, I don't mean any of this as a serious philosophical conclusion, I'm just playing games with words. If Benatar actually is going to say something like that, yes, fuck Benatar in the ass until dead. I'm not allowed, again, I'm not allowed, that's abuse. I'm not allowed to say that. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, fuck till dead. Plus you fucking retard. Fuck you, you're an idiot. You're anything other than fucking insane. You're fucking insanely stupid.
Honest opinion. I think you're insanely stupid. I think your brain is so fucking broken. For you to think there's any viability in this notion that you can say all sentient experience is of no consequence. It's just idiotic. It's the most significant thing in the universe. And yes, it's not comparing it to much, right? Rocks. Yes, it's obviously more significant than a rock, but it's significant by a huge amount. Really hard to get more significant. More hard to even imagine how something could be more significant than sensation, as conceptually. Hard to do.
Alright, you're an idiot. Fuck you.
Gee, brilliant. Alright, so anyway, so that's the definition of abuse. Okay. Yeah, sorry. No sale. Not even close to a sale. Yeah, nothing. No. Alright, so what else is there to say? Anyway, look, there's no point in re-going over it. As for me, I'm not in the business of calling it an efforts fundamentally logical. As for me, I'm not in the business of calling my AN efforts fundamentally logical, because my videos are about appealing to emotion. So right there. I mean, shouldn't that disqualify somebody from being in the game? I mean, they're basically saying, I can't play the game straight. I have no logical function. I'm just going to use emotional weapons, brass knuckles and things. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way of saying I can't do this straight. I have to use the cheat of what is the most fallacious of sources of knowledge, which is some sort of emotion. That's just my style. Well, I think it's a style of a moron, an idiot. Hate it if you want. Yes, I'll hate it because I want the truth to win, and imbecilic jibber jabber like this does the argument no good whatsoever. But there's nothing irrational about it. Well, I think it is irrational. As soon as you say logic has nothing to do with it, then it's irrational. There is oh, I don't know how that happened. I must have hit the keyboard. There is coherentist. I never even heard of that. Coherentist logic in bringing together people's existing oughts. You mean their existing bigotry, their existing impressions. These aren't oughts made out of logic. They're oughts made out of just an impression, a sense, a vague sense, a notion. A notion. There is coherentist logic in bringing together people's existing notions. No, there isn't. There's nothing coherent about combining nonsense and making a big giant nonsense cake. As I said, I mean, it's almost the bad apple argument. You don't bring you don't bring bad apples and put them in the pie. The whole point is to exclude the bad apples. To figure out what is nonsense and keep it out of the pie. Retard. As I said, being less hypocritical. I don't know, hypothetical. Hypocritical. Yeah, hypocritical. I don't even know what that means. From your perspective. In my opinion, you're too insane to even be hypocritical. Yeah, mostly. Alright, nice video. I've tried explaining his ignorance on the matter of logic often. That's Hothloday. Okay, so let's just remember, Hothloday's theory of ethics is, it's infinitely better for you to suffer than me. It's his ethical theory. The foundation of his ethical theory. His knowledge base on the subject of ethics. The critical component of his knowledge base on the subject of ethics is, I believe it's infinitely better for you to suffer than for me to suffer. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a very good theory, right? With incredible patience and vigilance in the face of all that abuse that I can replicate. I can't replicate. Whatever. You have to grow a thick skin and try to reason at his level. So again, more obnoxious insults. This is from a guy who can't deal with 3 fucking premises. 3. And he can't deal with those 3 premises in any kind of rational way. Yeah, not so easy in my case. Again, so, well, whatever. There's no point in arguing. Yeah, this isn't a daunting task. There are 3 premises, not even a conclusion, just 3 premises. Find a flaw in one of them, please. Oh, God, these people. point out why you disagree with one of them, because you have to disagree with one of them to disagree with the rest of the philosophy fundamentally, because the rest of the philosophy is always going to go back to those premises. All right, so do in the morning. What did she's just such a cunt. Just point to the video where I have mistreated somebody. I can think of one video, although I can't find it through his more than 3,000 mostly long videos. That was a video where he said to Piro, and I'm paraphrasing, well, great, that he was guilty of his daughter's death because he had a child. Well, I don't even know if I made that argument, but he's certainly guilty. There are other examples, but this one has stayed in my mind. Yeah, but no context, right? We're talking about a year after his daughter's death, right? I applied the appropriate sympathies at the time of the death, and and then I tried to squeeze out a little bit of information about how exactly she died. And the more information you got out of him, the more it's kind of obvious that there's a lot of dumbness going on. All right, so this idiot says, there are probably hundreds of examples. I just thought I'd give mine. I didn't even cite the worst things he said because I couldn't be bothered going through the video again. He takes disagreement as an insult. No, I frankly, that's really such a canard. It's such a disgusting lie. I hate abusers, and I hate people making rationalizations for abuse. You rationalize abuse by saying something stupid like your intuition is God. That's really dumb because people have really ignorant intuition. They really don't understand shit, and that's why animals are getting eaten every day. It's because people's intuition is nonsense. It's rubbish. You fucking idiot! He takes disagreement as an insult and therefore thinks he's justified in saying the most vicious things his emotions conjure up. I'm saying the most vicious things because I believe you're just as bad, and I don't believe that in any lie sense. You are as bad as, okay, a rapist, a Nazi, a bigot. You're as bad as. In all honesty, the example you cite I might actually agree with inmendham on, though I'm not sure he said it in a much worse way and at a distasteful time. So you're sure? What evidence do you have for that sureness? You're sure? Well, I'm sure you're wrong, okay? And if I'm right, then you've just again impugned my character gratuitously, haven't you? Why don't you just show that clip of you making an accusation that you don't have any evidence to justify? Because I know the truth, and the truth is, at the time of his daughter's death, I'm the one who made videos about it, saying stuff about it. I was quite sympathetic. I think that parents are guilty of their children's suffering and death. As an anti-natalist myself, well, I mean, how could they be guilty of something you don't believe matters? As a nihilist, their suffering doesn't mean anything. You just said meaning doesn't have meaning. You logically know that. And yet you're saying he's guilty of something you don't logically believe even exists. You're empathetic for the kid who, in effect, she's better off dead. If you're an correctly, right? So he was guilty while the daughter was alive. That's when he was guilty, but she was suffering. And so killing her was like the best thing he could do. But anyway, just look at any video to Hothladay whom Gary mistreats constantly. Well, again, and I would argue, look at any Hothladay. Look, we have the comments right here. All right, you liar. Right? And that's all you are. You're just a despicable liar. At his level. Let's see. His ignorance. Those aren't insulting statements? Those aren't accusations that I should find offensive? especially coming from an imbecile, an unqualified jackass imbecile who has absolutely nothing to stand on, no badges of merit in any kind of sense. He's never won an argument in his fucking life, as far as I could tell. And so why the fuck does he have the right to claim superiority? Victory of some kind. Has he earned it? No. Fuck you. But hospital day. Yeah, okay, so that's the end of that one. Due in the morning. As regards to Piro, my point is not whether what inmendham said is right or wrong. Amazing. I mean, facepalm all over the fucking place. But whether he mistreats or hurts Piro at such a moment in his life. So there we go again. But whether he mistreats or hurts Piro at such a moment in his life. Well, how long does that moment last exactly? All right, so I'm just saying that the point is that I didn't mistreat Piro if there was any mistreatment at that moment. So that's just, you're just lying, bitch. There's no other word for it. You know, and you tell me when the appropriate time is. I think the appropriate time is when Piro was starting to propagandize over what the experience meant to him. And so I guess that's time then for me to comment and say, God, what a crock of absolute shit. He says something stupid like, well, I've learned from the experience that life is tricky and dangerous, but I wouldn't stop anybody else from being just as reckless as I was. I won't be reckless anymore, but I'll let other people do it. Isn't that the same thing as saying, well, I sure learned from raping that woman that rape really sucks because, man, I really feel stupid about raping her. But I wouldn't stop anybody else from raping. And I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm supposed to just say, oh yeah, that makes sense. I learned from the experience, and everything I learned was shit because I wouldn't apply it to anybody else. I mean, really, if somebody's going to die for something, I think they ought to die for something a little more durable than that. Oh, shit. Alright, so another comment. I'm not aware of what exactly he said, so there we go again. Great, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. I'm sure he did mistreat Piro. Okay, fine, many times. You're sure again, so you're going to make more accusations impugning my character. And you expect me to not call you an asshole, or to say, fuck you. I'm not allowed to say, fuck you, you lying, scummy little pervert. Ugh, mistreat Piro many times as he does with all his correspondence, but believing parents to be guilty of their children's suffering and death, I wouldn't take great umbrage with him pointing that out. I think we need to get into a place in society where parenthood is a shameful thing. Well, again, you would shame people not because you know that what they did is wrong, but because you feel what they did is wrong. And because you have an unmovable, irresistible desire to shame them, not an irresistible understanding that what they're doing is wrong. So you don't understand them to be wrong, you just feel like they're wrong. So it's like acknowledging, it's like somebody acknowledging, I have no reason to dislike black people except I don't like the way they look. You're saying that's exactly how people, they should go with how they feel. They shouldn't rationally hear Dr. King saying, judge a man based on the content of his character, not the color of his skin. They shouldn't hear any of that in their head. They should just go with, yeah, I don't like the way they look. They're ugly. Give me the creeps. That's what they should go with. And because I'm smart, I'm saying that is the most ignorant thing I've ever heard in my life, you fucking retard. And that's the implications of your retarded philosophy, you creep. Whatever you're for it for the wrong reason, which makes you a menace to the cause. You're not fighting for the cause for the right reasons. You're fighting for the exact opposite cause. You should be on the other side fighting for their cause, because that's the side you're defending, really, with your philosophy. That's just why I wouldn't cite that as an example myself. There are plenty of other examples of him unjustly mistreating correspondents. Claims without evidence. Oh, I think that is a problem logically. Yeah, I think one of the rules of logic is you actually have to have a premise to defend your conclusion. You can't just cite the conclusion with no premise evidence. That's what premises are, evidence. Yeah. Why do we have a feeling that inmendham will completely ignore this or have it go way over his head? No, I think it went under my nutsack. I don't think this came even close to, anything. It's below my ass, so I should not receive it. These people are just so pathetic. Shadow of whatever. Wagged. Because you have a neocortex with intelligence, maybe. Why do I have the feeling that inmendham will completely ignore this? Well, I didn't ignore it. Or have it go way over his head. Well, again, what went way over my head? The idea that there's a rule of logic that says you can only add 2 premises at a time. Or what went way over my head is I'm not allowed to say these are premises, and before we use them to draw a conclusion, tell me if one of these premises are disagreeable. Show me how one of these premises are incorrect so I can eliminate them from the logical chain so we won't have a problem when I get to the conclusion. It went over my head that I don't realize that that's not sensible. Fuck you. It's not sensible for you to test the premises before you start combining them. That's not sensible. Who would do that? We just accept them, and that's it. I was stupid to think you would argue the premises when, no, you just argue the conclusion. You don't even pay any attention to the premises. There's no point in even bringing up the premises. They have absolutely nothing to do with the conclusion. Wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah, no. It went under the chair. It didn't go over my head. Yeah. I got cave crickets that jump higher than this shit. Anyway. So till next time. Such. Until the next idiotic, inane rubbish of a counter-argument. Simple premises. I arrive on Earth. I experience sensation. I recognize them to be intrinsically and fundamentally of good and bad character. I realize that the other sentient beings are doing essentially, factually, the same thing I'm doing, which is having good and bad sensations. Where's the mistake? I'm not realizing that it's infinitely more important that I feel good than they feel good. Because they are a them. And it's okay for them not to feel good. It's not okay for me to not feel good. That's the real logic. The real truth. The true premise. Me important, them not important. That's the truth. That's the premise. So I take out this bullshit about them having real experiences just as real as mine. I take that out and I put in my experiences are important. Their sensations are not important. My sensations create legitimate oughts. Their sensations do not create legitimate oughts. That's logical. That's the truth. It's got to be the truth. There's no possible alternative theory to the theory that I'm important. They're not important. The feelings I'm having are really good and bad. The feelings they're having are not really good and bad. I mean, I've beaten this dead horse shit. This isn't even a dead horse. This is dead horse shit. Yeah, I'm beating dead horse shit. Ugh, fuck. Anyway. Yeah, no, that's not what are you gonna do? The only intuition I had that was ever correct was my intuition very early on that people seem to suck. They just seem sucky to me. Yeah, I had no real affinity with them. They seem kind of creepy. And I was right. Yeah, for the most part, they're pretty fucking creepy.